All right. Good morning, everybody. It's right at 9 o'clock. And so as we have people come in, but we're going to get started today in respect for your time. Thanks for taking time out of your morning to be here. Just want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all attendees after today's session. If you have any questions, please place them in the Q&A box to be addressed at the end of the session. I am joined today by Dr. Delitza Rivera, an ESL specialist at Orange County Library System and the curriculum developer for English for Families. My name's April Myerscough. I'm the public programs coordinator here at Florida Humanities, as well as the point person for all of your funding and grant related questions. So today we are going to cover some information about the program, some funding guidelines, and of course steps to apply, and then finish with Q&A. So if you're not sure what English for Families is a series of templated, interactive, multi-week classes for parents and children that focuses on developing English vocabulary and literacy skills through strategic and fun story reading. The goal of the program is to develop the literacy skills of the whole family, laying a path to success for both work and school. English for Families programming can be held virtually or in person. And this funding period that is open right now is for one series of 10 sessions, held either once a week for 10 weeks or twice a week for 5 weeks. And this programming series can occur anytime between January to May of 2023. So I'm going to pass it over to Delitza to talk about the program.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Delitza Rivera. I wanted to talk about the idea about the CAME for English for Families. So one of the things that I looked at when I was thinking of a program for families was the need. And in Florida, we have a high number of non-English speakers. And that's a little higher than the national average. So a lot of the students that go through K-12 in Orange County, and I was thinking of Orange County because that's my county, I was thinking a lot of the students that go there struggle to get additional help at home because parents don't have the tools that they need to be able to help their children with literacy skills. I used to be a middle school reading teacher, and a lot of my students, I worked in a Title I where 83% of my students were bilingual or non-native speakers or getting some sort of ESOL service. And a lot of the parents that I would meet with would say, well, I can't help them because the literacy is too difficult, and I don't know if they're doing it correctly or if they're not doing it correctly. And so, then students get the idea, well, if I can't get help at home, they get frustrated and they don't try, they kind of don't do their homework and things like that. So I was thinking of a way that we can kind of bridge the two and help parents equip them with tools that they need to be able to help their children. And so we want to make sure that the children and their parents can practice literacy skills together. If needed, if the kids need help, that the parents are able to help them with a way to complete their homework. And also I wanted to think of a way where the parents will be able to advocate for them in schools. A lot of times the parents didn't know that they had certain rights or that they could have asked for certain additional help. A good example of that was I had parents that would get close to when the state exams at that time, it was the FCAT, and they had never asked for additional tutoring or additional resources for their kids prior to the exam so that they would be able to be better prepared for the exam. And so part of that comes with the lack of communication skills or the communication barriers that they have in the school. So when I thought of English for Families, those were the things that I was taking into consideration. Can we go to the next slide? So the program itself, I designed English for Families to be flexible. I wanted something that you can take to your county and you can mold. I know in Orange County itself, we have branches where one branch is predominantly Hispanic, and their literacy levels they vary. And then I have another branch that's predominantly Haitian Creole. A lot of the people that live around there are Haitian Creole, and their literacy skills also vary. So I wanted to create something that you can either scale up or scale down depending on your demographics. It can be held virtual or in person. Initially we did it in person, and then COVID surprised us all. And so we moved it to a virtual platform. So we have the two. The program has technology and activities that you can do with them, both virtually and in person. And the implementation can vary. You can vary the timing from 1 hour to 1.5 hours, or 2 hours to 2.5 hours, whether you want to do it 5 weeks, twice a week, or if you wanted to do it for 5 weeks, once a week, and then extend out the time, you can do that. Or if you wanted to just do the 10 weeks once a week. Okay. Initially, I've done it in a variety of forms. I've done 10 weeks once a week for 2 hours. And, that's worked out. We've done it for 1 hour. That's also worked out. So you do look at your demographics and really think of what would be something that I can captivate them for X amount of time, and then they will be willing to commit to and come to attend. And then the curriculum itself, you do have flexibility in the book selection. I do provide a list of books. I had our team kind of put together books because, what better way to kind of ask other people if great books for particular strategies. And we pair those up with strategies. We pair them with, let's say we have KWL, which is a reading strategy, and we have a selection of books under that strategy that you can select from, and you are more than welcome to find another book. If you do know of another book that would be better suited, or you think that it's culturally rich, and you think that the students will enjoy it, you're more than welcome to use that book and implement the strategy with that particular book. Okay, and then we have the vocabulary selection. We use the Oxford Picture Dictionary, so we want to develop their fundamental knowledge of vocabulary. So the program, it's two-part. We do the reading and the reading strategies, and we do the fundamental vocabulary development. We want them to kind of develop both. I know from having taught ESOL for 18 years now, a lot of my students will know the more complex words, like because they're cognates in their native language, and so they see it and they sort of know what it is. And the ones they struggle with are actually the fundamental ones. Somehow they skipped over those and then they went into the more complex ones. Why that happens, there's a variety of reasons. So we always want to make sure we cover the fundamentals so that they can become advocates for themselves and for their children. And the curriculum also has hands-on activities that you can do during the face-to-face class. And then I do give you some suggestions on what you can do if you wanted to do a virtual activity with the students. So here's a sample of a book and strategy training. So like I mentioned, the KWL. KWL is a reading strategy that we use from beginning, during, and after the book. And the idea behind it is to kind of get the students to engage during the entire reading. They set a purpose for reading. They look for those answers, or they look for that purpose to see if that answer was in the book. And then they do a follow-up, like what did they learn after the book? The idea is we don't want children, or we don't want people in general to just read a book without a purpose. A lot of the times when that happens, they don't retain a lot of the information, they don't retain the vocabulary, but they don't see use for it. So we want to make sure that we can engage them from before we read the book, while they're reading the book, and after they read the book. So this is just a sample. And as you can see at the very bottom there, there's a couple of books that we suggested. Like My Name is Gabriela, Florida, Everybody Cooks Rice, and Fried Bread. And there's quite a few others. We just couldn't get them in the screenshot. Okay. And like I said, this is a sample of a cycle of the class. If we wanted to do it for twice a week for 5 weeks, the first class would be the reading book and a reading strategy. And then the second class of the week will be focused on vocabulary. Now, and I know I'll mention it later, but the vocabulary is kind of grouped together. I mean, they're not arbitrary, like just random vocabulary words. They're grouped together into a particular literacy target, like health literacy. So that way they can develop that sort of vocabulary. But we do pair them up this way. If I was doing this particular cycle once a week, then I can either class 1 do the reading book and the strategy, and then the second week would be the vocabulary if I was doing just 1 hour, or I can be flexible and merge the two. Okay. And so the training that was developed for English for Families is self-paced. It's a virtual training. You do get an opportunity to take your time with it, go back and reread, see some of the videos. Some of the strategies have videos of how to implement it in the classroom. And you do have access to that. And you have, in that training, you also have a lot of the samples of the lesson plans and the activities that we've done. There's also resources that you can download on there. So that is at your pace. And then you do have an opportunity to observe live sessions. Our next live session for Orange County will begin July 11th. So we will be hosting one in a few weeks. If you're interested in attending, I'll have my email up at the end of the presentation, and you can send me an email and I will register you so that you can get the link when the classes begin. Okay. In addition to that, during training, you do have access to staff for questions, whether the questions, depending on what the question is about, if it's about implementation and strategies, you can contact me or one of the instructors of the class. Or if it's about funding and the application process, that's an April question. So you would contact her for that. Okay. So here's an example of the additional resources I said that you can download from your training module. So you have access to a sample outline, sample materials. We do, one of the things that I did when we went to an online platform, we would put parent letters. So kind of just explaining what the strategy is in a very simple form for the parents. And those letters were, depending on the demographics, were either done in English or they were bilingual. They were done in Spanish and another language. And then you do have access to marketing files, like the flyers that we've created, bookmarks and things of that nature that we have used. You also have access to social media templates, sample surveys, and then contacts and reference links in that training module.
All right.
This is the April.
Yes, thank you, Jalitza, for the fantastic information. I'm going to go over now some of the more ins and outs of the grants and start with who is eligible to apply. So you've listened to all this great information. You're wondering if this may be right for your organization. English for Families is eligible for all Florida public and municipal libraries and library systems. However, a friends group, a city or county government, or a library foundation or a similar group board of directors may apply on behalf of the library if you are not an independent entity. So the application deadline for this funding cycle is Wednesday, August 31st at noon, so you have about 2 months. Organizations will be notified of their funding status, whether you have been approved or denied funding, the week of September 26th. You can apply for up to $4,000 to support this session of programming, but we ask that you only apply for what you need. Approved organizations may also receive partial funding. Funded organizations receive 90% of funding at the start of the project, and then the remaining 10% as a reimbursement with receipt and approval of a final report. The contract period for this funding opportunity is October 1st, 2022, to allow you to sign the contract and attend a project director meeting and do all of the training before you start your program through May 31st, 2023. So the first major part of the application are 5 narrative questions requiring multi-paragraph responses. The narrative fields include identifying the need for the program in your community, describing current literacy programming offered by your library, both for children and adults, Identifying key personnel who will execute the program and their experience. So that's any staff at the library who is helping with the program, in addition to the instructor who will be teaching the program. Describing plans for publicity and partners for the session. So anybody, any other nonprofit organizations you work with, your local school district, corporate, or other commercial sponsors. And lastly, defining your preferred program format. So letting us know whether the program is intended to be hosted in person or virtually, or how many weeks you'd like to host the program. So twice a week for 5 weeks or once a week for 10 weeks. So the second major part of the application is the budget. Requests may not exceed $4,000, and Florida Humanities funds can be used for the following line items. Instructor honoraria, which is in a recommended amount of $1,000 for the session. An instructor book set, books to distribute to participating families, and other. Other is just as it sounds. It is any other cost required for the development and execution of the program. However, all line items designated as other must be described in detail. All funded organizations are required to provide a match of awarded funds. Cost share or match are those costs of a project not covered by Florida Humanities funding. A minimum of a 1-to-1 match of the awarded amount is required. So if your organization receives $3,000 in funding, you must provide cost share totaling at least $3,000. Cost share can be accrued in cash, or the costs that your organization pays for directly, or in kind, which are costs and services that have an invisible dollar amount. Cost share can be accrued through any line items not covered by Florida Humanities, staff and volunteer time, books given to participating families, marketing and publicity costs such as printing of materials, venue rental if needed, if your library doesn't have a meeting space big enough for hosting the program, refreshments for attendees, and any supplemental activity costs. What you see on the screen isn't a comprehensive list by any means. We recommend tallying cost share items as you go, including keeping track of receipts of things you purchase and recording staff and volunteer hours directly related to the development and execution of the program. So the application has 3 upload fields as well, one of which is required. Each upload field can support multi-page documents, so each field can have 3 or 4 pages attached to it. You will need a letter of commitment and resume for your program's instructor. There are also 2 optional support upload fields for documents, such as examples of current literacy programming, past marketing examples of things you've distributed to advertise this literacy programming, and letters of support for community partners. So I'm going to go over the steps to apply for funding. If you have any questions at this time of what anything Julitza or I have discussed so far, please place them in the Q&A box to be addressed at the end of the presentation. The first step is to determine the need for English for families in your community and how they would benefit from the program in your community. Next, identify and confirm an instructor, as all applicants must have an instructor in place before applying. Instructors can be in-house, so somebody who works for your organization already, or someone from outside your organization. Then apply for funding. Applications are due by August 31st at 12 noon, and that is a firm deadline. All applicants will be notified of funding status the week of September 26th through email, and we send an email to the project directors to let you know if you have been funded or not. To apply, you can use the link on the application homepage to access the online portal, or visit the website on the bottom bar here, floridahumanities.org/apply. We always recommend bookmarking this page for ease of access so you can come back to it time and again. You can use an existing account that your organization already has, or you can create a new one by clicking the gray button here. We also have instructions on how to create an account in the gray box here, and it downloads a PDF with step-by-step instructions on how to make an account. However, In this portal system, Florida Humanities can't reset any of your information for you, but if you need to reset your password, you can do that by clicking the Forgot Your Password button here. Once you have logged on, the screen will look a little like this. At the moment, English for Families is the top result on the homepage. However, as we get closer to the deadline, that may change as all of our open grant applications are organized alphabetically. To preview the application, click the gray button on the bottom left with an eye here. And to start an application, click the top right blue button here. This application can be saved and returned to later if you need to by clicking the Save button on the bottom of the application. So if you have sat through this presentation and realized that English for Families may not be the right opportunity for your organization, not to worry, Florida Humanities has several other funding opportunities open at this time. Visit the website above, floridahumanities.org/funding-opportunity to browse all open opportunities and sign up for more webinars like this one. We also encourage you to sign up for Florida Humanities newsletters to stay up to date on all of our funding opportunities and upcoming events. You can do so here, floridahumanities.org/sign-up. So that is it from us on the instructional part. I'm going to leave up our contact information while we answer questions. Again, all training and curriculum questions should be directed towards Julitza, and if you'd like to sign up to attend a live class of English for Families, and I can take any and all funding and applications related questions. Julitza's email is at the top here, and mine is here. So we are ready to answer any of your questions. I saw that we had a couple come in during the presentation, so I'm going to adjust this top one. The first question is what are the ages or grades that this is geared to? And also, can it be another adult or other parent that comes in with the child?
So I'll answer that. The initial idea was for elementary school kids, maybe about grade 3 to 5. But you can gear it up. And this is what I meant by the flexibility. Let's say that you wanted to target middle school students, maybe grade 6 through 7. You can implement the same strategies. The strategies don't change. The book selection will change. So then you would just pick books that are of higher interest and interest to those kids. Now, keep in mind, they can't be like really long books because we want to make sure that we can read the book during class. So we want something that would be of interest to them and also at their proficiency level. So that's something that you can adjust that way, and vice versa. Let's say that you do look at you're having like third graders come in, but they're newcomers and they know zero English. You can always scale it back so that you can have easier books, so that they can digest that information more and that vocabulary better. So it is designed for that purpose. But to answer your question, the initial target was grade 3 to 5. And can it be another parent? Yes, we've had parents. We have individuals like just adults that come to the class, and I had one family that were teenage twins that came in. They were 18 years old. And mom and dad came, and all 4 of them sat through Florida Humanities English for Families program, and they loved it. You know, they were all newcomers, so they felt that the book was easy enough for them to grasp some of the vocabulary and learn something. So that's perfectly fine as well.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So the next question we have, is the training for the teachers only, or is it also available for project directors?
Anyone can take the training. Anyone involved in the program and implementing the program, I would recommend taking the training. That way, you know what it entails, and it also serves the purpose as if you needed to jump in for your instructor or like whoever was co-hosting for your instructor, you can do that as well. So I would encourage, I would encourage that anyone who's involved in the program would at least take the training program.
And I believe Julitza as well that the training remains open throughout the execution of the program. So if you or your instructor needs to refer back to it, it's not like time limited or anything.
Absolutely.
So the next question we have, I think I can answer this one, is what is the cost for the instructor book set? And so we have a recommended amount of $600. However, the exact amount may vary based on how many books you purchase for this program. You may have some of the recommended books already in your collection or may get a discount. However, we estimate to buy a complete set of everything, all of the books mentioned and recommended for the course, to be about $600. All right, so the next question we have is, does the instructor have to be a certified teacher?
I would say no. They will have not certified, like ESOL certified. Is that if I'm understanding that question correctly? We do have teachers teaching the class, meaning they're certified in other areas and then they learn the ESOL strategy. So I'm not sure if you're asking if they have to be certified teachers already, then the answer would be yes. If they have to be ESOL, okay, certified by the Department of Education, then the answer would be, that's an April question.
So they don't have to be. We have some, at the moment, some of our host sites have somebody on staff, like the library, who is a certified librarian, teach the course. They just have, again, like Julissa said, a recommended experience of 2 years of teaching ESOL classes. So it does not have to be a certified teacher from the Department of Education. We do have some that teach the class at our host sites at the moment, but it's not a requirement.
No, the ones at our site are certified, but that's kind of, I don't know, it just kind of happened that way. Our initial instructor was certified, but not by Florida. She was certified in the state of New York and then came over here. But what we looked at was the experience of having taught, and
Absolutely. And we have another question, which is a good one. What is the suggested class size?
We suggest at least 15. So aim for 25, 30, because people sign up and then they don't show up. So I would say a good class size, especially if you're going to be implementing some of the activities, you want at least like 15 families there.
Yeah, as we have another question, which is a good one. What about children doing this with a grandparent?
That's perfectly fine. Families can be defined any which way, whether grandparents are bringing their kids in, maybe it's an older brother bringing their younger siblings to the program, or maybe it's, mom, dad, or a sister, or an aunt or uncle. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and like we said, we have noticed as well, some of our current host sites for 2022, sometimes the family is just all adults, so they'll have only adults come in. Even families can be defined in any way, and while this program does have elements and is geared towards, like Julissa said, grades 3 to 5, anybody can come.
Yeah, a lot of times the adults just look at it from the perspective of, I want to learn vocabulary. I want to be able to improve my language skills any which way. And they actually find children's book to be right at their level. So they do enjoy the class, I would tell you that.
Yes. All right. Does anybody have any other questions regarding the application or program curriculum? I am not seeing any. So if you do have questions that you think of after the program, I recommend visiting our website, the English for Families homepage. Your question may be answered there. If not, any questions related to curriculum or training can be sent to Julitsa's email, rivera.julitsa@ocls.info, or you can email me any questions about funding or application. Any application questions, and my email is here. I hope you have a really wonderful weekend. And again, any questions, please feel free to reach out. All attendees will be receiving a recording of this webinar as well as a copy of the slide deck this morning. All right, thank you all for attending. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.